watched his growth and watched his development. And we're proud at B'nai Israel, we're proud of the yeshiva, of his accomplishments. He needs you. He indicated to me earlier in conversation that the leader is only as good as his congregation. The congregation makes the leader. It gives the leader his inspiration, his ambition, his drive, his purpose, his goal, his raison d'etre in life. And this is what this congregation should do, as Rabbi Bornstein continues with Rabbi Israel Friedman, whom I'm greatly impressed. And so this marriage of 47 years, with its ups and its downs, with its moments of joy and its vicissitudes, with its happy occasions and simplest and never tragic occasions as well. Rabbi Bornstein has cleared a derech yeshara, a clear path, a path which reflects la'osecha, which is nice in the eyes of God and which is nice in the eyes of man. Tavia olav bracha. Again, my heartfelt thanks to all of you for inviting Mrs. Schechter and myself. I will not forget this evening. Thank you very much.
Individual. We all know him as a successful businessman who has used his business as a vehicle to help with all areas of our Jewish community. He is constantly supporting activities and programs aimed at raising Jewish identity. It's not surprising why him and Rabbi Bornstein have had such a long relationship, seeing they have such common goals. As co-chair of the Tribute Journal, it is my honor to introduce such a special friend of Rabbi Bornstein's, Mr. Tavia Gorden.
Bornstein needs no introduction. We are here to honor him tonight. I would like to remind you of some of his many accomplishments and good deeds above and beyond serving as Rabbi of B'nai Israel. After Rabbi Schechter left, B'nai Israel, the surviving rabbi of the congregation, had to perform solo. At the time, B'nai Israel had a large Sunday school and a substantial Hebrew school. When the membership began scattering over the entire area, Rabbi Bornstein mapped out and ran a station wagon transportation service. It forced him to stay in the synagogue in the evening until the last child was safely home and he ate his dinner in the shul. He was responsible for the curriculum of the Hebrew school. He taught the Chumash class himself, daily assisted by Esther Stark. He trained the bar mitzvahs, for whom almost all performed Shachrit and Musaf and Haftorah. Many boys put on that tefillin through college and some through life. In a given year, there could be as many as 15 bar mitzvahs. To keep these who were yeshiva candidates until they were ready for transfer to the yeshiva, he gave an afternoon high school class. Some transferred at the tender age of 13 to the Talmudical Academy in Baltimore. He taught for 13 years a weekly reading and Seder group to enable the unbar and bas mitzvahs to participate in services, a weekly Talmud group, a Wednesday sisterhood day group, a Yiddish class, a Shabbat afternoon group relieved by Dr. and Mrs. Baer. The men's club met every Sunday morning, for which Abbot Sachs and him had to find speakers and sponsoring groups. He had to search for lecturers for Friday evening for him and call to assure attendance. During the summer, he rehearsed with the choir for the High Holy Days. The annual Kol Nidra appeal was pre-solicited by him. One year, with my help, he raised within 2 weeks, now that's 2 weeks, and $25,000 back in those days was a lot of money. But the roof had to be repaired. He visited prominent Norfolk Jews and signed them up as members and supporters of the synagogue. The mikveh maintenance and reconstruction fell on his shoulders, only relieved by Mitzi Berman for maintenance and Harold Schussnick and the on-off for construction. As we all know, the Vada Kasha was always on the verge of financial insolvency. To make possible its survival, He and Reverend Luftrava, as volunteers, took turns as the mashgiach at Pearl Inns for 8 months before a paid mashgiach could be found. When the Federation banquet was scheduled at the Admiralty that had only one kitchen operating entirely for non-kosher, he and the Reverend Luftrava had all the food prepared at Temple Israel, which was under the Vadakasha. It was transported lock, stock, and barrel, pots and pans to the Admiralty Hotel by the Sandler food trucks, where Hubert Humphrey gave a rousing speech. Federation Director Frost Spivak became a good friend of Rabbi Bornstein. After attending his teen community group, his daughter, instead of moving out from her parents, decided to remain. She credited this to Rabbi Bornstein having shown her there was something special about being Jewish. Frost Spivak suggested that Rabbi Bornstein make a motion to the Federation to adopt a policy requiring its public dinners to be kosher, which it did. The Shul Bulletin was published twice every month on prehistoric office equipment, which supports the theory that the world may be over 5,000 years old. Some wanted it every week or to replace the Virginian Pollard or the Washington Post. In addition to his B'nai Israel activities, the monthly payroll at the Hebrew Academy had to be met at a time when day schools were not fully accepted. Solicitations had to be made for more funds, and parents had to be candidates for children's. As Rabbi Schechter well knows, the rabbi's deep involvement in the Hebrew Academy solicitations on a daily basis was seen by B'nai Israel's administration as a diversion of the rabbi's talents and time, and as an interference with synagogue duties. To avoid conflict of interest, the rabbi had to operate clandestinely and seek not to see the same givers for the congregation as for the academy. The fact is that many of the friends Rabbi Bornstein made at HAT solicitations now are the very backbone of B'nai Israel. HAT at one point was in such dire financial straits that Rabbi Bornstein and then President Bill Mazzell went searching for money. Arif Tesa, after Rabbi Bornstein had sold the congregational hermits and made sure the congregational annual Seder was in the bag, the rabbi and I, assisted by Simon Gutterman, Bill Einhorn, and Joe Jaffe. The membership in those times expected personal service to such a degree that, if heaven forbid, a loss occurred during the night, the rabbi remained to comfort the family through the entire night till morning. In case of illness, patients were visited 3 times a week. In hospice cases, some were visited every day. All synagogue home consignees were visited before every Yom Tov to give them a sense of belonging. Unlike doctors, he made house calls. The NCSY, which had a separate Virginia chapter and a mature membership, had a shower shoulders with Rabbi Bornstein every Shabbat in Furman Hall for the 15 or so teens who lived in the neighborhood. It goes without saying that Rabbi Bornstein was with us when we were hatched, matched, and dispatched. We also had a scout troop and cubs that needed guidance. He managed the office, ensured timely billings, placed the synagogue funds in high-yield accounts, and mailed free tickets for the high holy days to those members who had suffered financial reverses. He established scholarships to the Hebrew School for poor children and met with the president weekly to clear financial decisions. In addition, he had to attend Federation of Rabbinical meetings, committees, and functions, and lectures at the Federation Center of Communal Groups, of which the teen group was a new adventure. He had to help look after the cemetery and had to hire help for maintenance from the street. That's his words, from the street. His stint with a Chava Kadisha drew opposition. It was felt at the time that it was enough if he kept the membership alive. Also, to send them off was too much. Even after his retirement, he had the sad duty to fill in for a late beloved Rabbi Goda when he took ill, who was a dear friend of Rabbi Bornstein and so many other congregations. Some still ask what Rabbi Bornstein did with his spare time. He reminds us that when we deal with issues, it is not cold turkey, but involves people of flesh and blood, and people have hearts, minds, and emotions, and are not perfect, not even rabbis. Rabbi Bornstein was married to the congregation and is content that it is rejuvenated now and is happily remarried again to young, dynamic Rabbi Joseph Friedman. Rabbi Bornstein not only was married to the congregation, which he loves and considers his family, but he also considers Tidewater his community and his home, for which he feels warmly, has deep roots, vested Jewish interests in, and many good friends. We love you, Rabbi.
Rabbi Schechter and Mrs. Schechter's presence here tonight reminds me that Rabbi Schechter graciously brought me here, and he was my tutor and mentor in practical rabbinics. Thank you for that. It was also the first home that I stayed in Norfolk, Virginia. And my question is this evening, how did I end up like this? Let me tell you a story, and you can draw your own conclusions. A man sued another man in court for an injury. The defendant asked the judge for permission to speak, and he said, "Your Honor, I asked this man immediately after the accident whether he was injured, and he said loud and clear, no. What is he suing me for?" The plaintiff in succession asked to reply, and he stood up and said, "Your Honor, let me explain. I was a passenger on his wagon when he drove it into a ditch. When he saw that the horse had broken its leg, he took out his shotgun, went over to the horse, blasted it, and put it out of its misery. Then he turned to me and he asked me, 'Are you also injured?' And I said, 'No.' It is still, dear friends, it is better for me than the man whom they honored by naming a street on Forest Lawn in his honor for him. And let me put it this way, I'll take the blame as long as it benefits the synagogue. The rabbinic field is a very difficult one. It is a mission in which one serves God and Torah and the Jewish people. It is fraught with pitfalls and charged with emotions. The demands are often unreasonable and the expectations are unrealistic. And you got to hear this. It's a true experience I had here in the B'nai Israel. The synagogue in those days was surrounded by the blacks. Herman Siegel, Oliver Sholem, solemnly stood up in the men's club and he said, "We have to ask the rabbi to stop it." I was deeply flattered being credited with such powers, Now, if Joshua could stop the sun from going down, why shouldn't I be able to stop demographic immigration? As things stand now, I always leave my telephone lines open at all times, because I expect at any moment to receive a call from the federal government asking me to stop the illegal immigration from Mexico. And that will also save us building the Pack-Buchanan Wall. It is true that at the time, after this Herman Siegel request, I got together with the other ministers and together with them arranged a meeting with the Black Panthers. We gave them a modest sum as a goodwill gesture, and we established officially diplomatic relations with them. And this was at a time when churches went out of existence at a fast clip because of broken windows. You won't believe it. We never had one broken window, and we encountered no more trouble ever since then. First and foremost, dear friends, I owe Hashem, God, my thanks for his daily gift of life. I'm beginning to get a little old, I believe. For his grace and blessings, and for having had the privilege of serving him and the Jewish people. As Jacob of old I say, Holakim, Horoa, Osi, Meodi, Ad Hayom Hazeh. God, who was my shepherd from the day I was born to this day, and the Ramban interprets this as meaning Roa is a shepherd, but the Ramban says that Roa means Rea, a friend. And so I thank God for having been my friend all life. I must also mention at this time my revered parents, Aleim Shalom, who gently and patiently implanted in my heart Avas HaTorah and Avas Hashem, love for God, Torah, and Israel, and for all people in my heart. My parents spent almost half of their income to keep me in the yeshiva of Kamenetz with its legendary dean, Rabbi Baruch Beer Zetzal, of blessed memory. I'm also delighted to see this evening my dear niece, Gittel. When I underwent heart surgery, she flew to my bedside for 4 weeks. She has always been like a daughter to me, and possibly closer and more devoted. Fully cognizant, my dear friends, of my own limitations, let me thank you who so loyally and supportively have stood by me, and the B'nai Israel congregation, who helped me, and the congregation cheered me, gave me understanding to overcome the many hurdles. Our lives, were over the years, have become interwoven through our intimate and close relationship in times of joy and celebration, in times of sadness and loss, in times of health or times of illness, in times of good fortunes or in times of hardships. I became a part of your family and you a part of my family. If I have just in a very small measure contributed to your religious and spiritual growth, your social life or happiness, I'm amply rewarded. To see your beloved and blessed children grow up as Torah Jews and mention has been my greatest nachas and my greatest joy. I'm sure and I hope that you will not feel slighted if I just briefly mention and express my appreciation to the Gorden and Sandler families for their long and enduring friendship to me and to the B'nai Israel, and for making a special generous donation in my honor for this occasion for the lobby of the shul. May Hashem bless them with good health. The community at large has been very kind to me. They made my life pleasant and caused me to feel that Jewish Tidewater is my home. And perhaps at this time, I should also mention and thank Rabbi Kowalski. Now, my friends, who is Rabbi Kowalski? He was a Mishulach of the yeshiva near Yisroel. And this is a story. Rabbi Kowalski, Rabbi Schechter, and I were visiting Julius Peck for B'nai Israel Rabbinical College. Rabbi Kowalski, one of the most outstanding Misholochim in history, made his famous pitch, but it was totally ineffectual. Then Rabbi Schechter got into the act, and Julius Peck opened his heart, and he opened his purse. Rabbi Kowalski, after this star performance, said to us, B'nai Israel needs Rabbi Schechter. He has a talent, and he has a touch. As for the B'nai Israel, he said, Bornstein will take care of them. And that is exactly what it is true. That's what he said. Let me also express my gratitude to you all who worked so hard to make the 50th year of Yovel of the B'nai Israel a success.